and somebody needed to hear it. And yeah, I know, going to get the comments, the Bible verses, hundreds of them. It says it right here. Congratulations. You are a tribulation saint. You will be left behind, and you will recognize and realize why you didn't go, because Jesus will tell you, depart from me. I didn't know you. It's an intimate relationship that is only experienced by the bride, and it is only experienced by a bride that knows within our own power we fail every single time. But I'm getting better every day, and that's all that matters. All right, let me keep going. Sorry about that rant, but hopefully I cleared that. If you're the bride, you heard and understood everything I just said. If you're a tribulation saint, it was like nails on a chalkboard for you, because you don't agree, and you won't, but you will. You will agree. Now, from Atzeret, Shemini Atzeret, on October the 8th, static timeline, it's always on October the 8th. 40 days later, it comes to November the 17th. I started doing all kinds of math to November the 17th, and I found so much symmetry involved with the date of November the 17th. I was like, well, let me go out there and make a video for everyone. All right, now, this count right here is a Jubilee count. A Jubilee is every 49 years. It is not every 50 years, every 49 years. And for those who say, well, we're in the Jubilee now, or the Jubilee was 2 years ago, or the Jubilee's next year, it can't. It can't. If you come back, this is an exact 49-year block. And the next year, that's where I made my mistake. I counted the blocks. This is the 49th year. They blew trumpets. This is 2024. They blew trumpets in 2024. The number is 6,027. And I went back, and you can, this math right here, you can add these two, and you will come up with 4,003 every single time. In any block, you add these two, 4,003, 4,003. Every single time, 4,003. All of them will add up to 4,003 until you get to the plus side. Then you have to start deducting 15 years, and you have 4,003. Deduct 64 years, you have 4,003. Depends on what side of AD and BC you're on, which there is actually no AD and BC. That was the construct of the Catholic monk in 525 AD. You can Google that and see what I'm talking about. Jesus was not born in a Jubilee. Jesus did not go into the temple when he was 12 in a Jubilee. Jesus did not die on the cross in a Jubilee. Jesus did not begin his ministry in a Jubilee. Jesus came here. I hope I don't start coughing. Jesus came here humble, with no pride, no effect. He came here so that nobody could say, oh, he came here like a king. He didn't. He came here like a lamb. He came here humbly. Now, if you do your math going backwards, if you say, well, let's say creation's in 4004, not 4003, what will happen when you get all the way down here to where we are now? That would mean that the 49th block was in 2023, and that the Jubilee would be in 2024. And since the 0 year, this would actually be 2023, we missed it. We missed the Jubilee. If you go over here and change this to any other number than 4003, if you think that it's 3970, just do a 49-year block. Remember, you got to start at 0, and you got to go to 1 when you're counting this way. And when you're counting back from here, you've got to start on this side right here and count that way. If you don't do that properly, you will not end up. And like I said, if you want to call it 3970, go right ahead. Do 49-year blocks. There's no such thing as a 50-year Jubilee. People keep trying to use a 50-year Jubilee. It is not, because the first year of the Jubilee and the first year of the Shemitah cycle share. And they blow trumpets in the 49th, and the Jubilee isn't the 50th, but because they share that first year, it's actually 49 years apart. So you change the creation to any other day. And by the way, creation actually began on September the 11th in 4004, but by the time we get right here, on September the 15th, September the 14th is when God created time. And when he created time, the very first day was September the 15th, trumpets. And that's when the year switched over. So we have 4 days. The earth was 4 days old before, in 4004. It was 4 days old. And so at 4 days old, then it shifted over. And this entire year, God wanted to make sure that we didn't take any time out of this year. That's why he overlapped it by 4 days. This entire year is 4003. So 4003, I can't get past it mathematically because, like I said, if you change this to 4005 or 3970 or 3969, I think they're saying, go ahead and do 49-year blocks from there and see where you'll end up. And if they're counting by 50s, they don't have a clue what they're doing. They are doing it wrong. The term, and somebody sent me an email on that as well. The term a day is as 1,000 years and 1,000 years as a day is not the same thing as the Jubilee count, which everyone just, honestly, it's just lazy math, just stacks 50 on top of each other and goes, 6,000 years, that's, however many Jubilees, 12, is that 120 Jubilees? Yeah, that matches 120 years that God's given to man. And no, I'm sorry. It is 2,000 years. Each segment, the first 0 to 2,000 years is Abraham. From Abraham, another 2,000 years is Jesus. And from Jesus, another 2,000 years is the rapture. It's 6,000 years. But we have to deal with the other count of the Jubilee, which is why the year is actually 6,027, and it will become the year 6,028 on March 17th. I hope that some of you understand what I'm saying. I know it's a lot. Some of you do, and that's why I do this. And honestly, you don't have to understand it. It's not a salvific issue. You are not saved by understanding this. I would never make the childish statement that if you were saved, the Holy Spirit would reveal. No. No, you don't want to be inside of my head. I can promise you don't want to be inside of my head with all these numbers flying around. You don't want to be there. And so I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's like I said, it's been going on since my childhood. My dad found me at 3 o'clock in the morning. My brother said I could not count to 1,000,000. I was going to prove him wrong, but I couldn't prove him wrong by saying it, by speaking them up to 1,000,000. I had to write it down. So by the time my father found me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I want to say I was up to 250,000 or 200,000. And I was just writing it all out. And he's like, what you doing, son? And I says, Jerry said that I can't count to 1,000,000. I'm going to prove to him that I can. So they knew about this issue that I had with numbers early on. I don't even know how old. I was in the 3rd grade, I think. I was just a little kid. And so you don't want to be inside of my head and how my brain, the wheels turn inside of my brain. You don't want to be there. I think it would drive most people insane inside of my head. That's what David says as well. I wouldn't want to be inside of David's head, honestly, because he has a different outlook or different perspective of all of this. And while I don't agree, I would never go up against David because I think he's wonderful. And I think his math is phenomenal, and the way he arrives at his dates are fantastic. I love everything he does, and while I see a slightly different timeline, it doesn't matter. It's not a salvational issue. It's just the way we were made. We're looking. There's people. I'm seeing 11:11 again, like nonstop. I'm seeing 11:11 again, but there's people who see things that I would never see. I just walk right by it. The Cataclysm Tony Early just sees, he takes pictures all the time of tags and numbers. And I had a dream one night. I told him, I don't understand. I had the weirdest dream of an orange cat. An orange cat. It was orange. And I don't even know, like it was really, it wasn't a cartoon, but the cat was very orange. And I couldn't understand. Like I said, it's probably nothing. It means nothing. You know, that very day, and I told them that when I was on my way to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, a few hours later, Tony sends a picture of an orange caterpillar at his job. They had just given him a brand new forklift of an orange. He's like, Mike, you're not going to see. I wouldn't have associated, even if he told me that, I wouldn't have associated it because I would have forgotten about the orange cat already. But he's like, that was for me. I got they gave me this brand new orange Caterpillar forklift today, and it's amazing, and it's brand new, and it's orange. It's the brightest orange I've ever seen. I'm like, how does that, like, what is that? What is that? How does that even happen? And some people will be like, oh, that's dumb. It probably is. But that's the way God speaks to Tony. And it's beautiful the way God speaks to Tony. And I love hearing that stuff. It doesn't happen to me like that, but it happens to Tony. And I really like that. And so I love his mind and how that works for him. What I'm trying to say is you all have a piece of the puzzle, and no, not all of you are going to understand this. Don't get frustrated with all the numbers, but some of you do. Some of you actually look at this stuff and go, wait a second, I'm going to show you a YouTube channel. I think I don't know if he's in Discord or what, but is it Trevor? I have it at the end. I'll show you his YouTube, but he did some amazing math today. I'm like, that's incredible. I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. That has something to do with 9 months, right? The time of life. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months. That's that 4 months I was talking about. Cometh the harvest. Remember, the harvest is not a rapture. Now, my buddy Wayne, We Are the Overcomers, calls them all harvests. It's just a different terminology. And again, I love the way he looks at all of this. He actually died, and he actually went to heaven and saw all this stuff. And that's never happened to me, even though I've been operated on. I can't even tell you how many times for a variety of wonderful things that have come up in my life and put to sleep. And I just woke up, and I didn't dream or go anywhere. But he did. But at any rate, I will say that there's one rapture and several harvests, and then there is a gathering or a harvest going into the millennium. Say you're not there 4 months, and somebody sent me a comment, well, that's the harvest at the end of summer, and we're already past that. And I'm like, do you think maybe a Bible verse might be pointing to more than one event that, maybe this is pointing to now? I don't know. Does it state that it has to be then? Does it state that we have to be raptured on a one of the feast days? I don't think it says that. I think it's going to come on if it was a feast day, I think we're all watching on that day. It says it's going to come in an hour when you think not. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, look on the fields, for they are white. That's us, all ready to harvest. So if you're looking 4 months into the future, it's a harvest. And this is, I think, why Wayne says this, because this is actually the rapture. 4 months earlier would be the rapture. Is this telling us that the rapture is going to happen, and then 4 months later, or 4 months later, once it becomes the Jubilee on March 17th, that this gathering begins, and it would have to happen during the Jubilee. We go early. There are verses that state that we go early. All right. These things begin to come to pass. Then look up and lift up your eyes for your heads, for your redemption draws near. All right. Habakkuk. 2:3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and will not tarry. For how long have we thought we were in the year 2020? I did. I thought we were in the year 2025 this whole time. I thought it was a Jubilee year this whole time. I was on with Bob and they were making fun. It was actually pretty cool. Bob was like, March 16th. We were saying March 16th. And here we are 8 months later, and March 16th is heading up again. And isn't it amazing that it doesn't actually tarry, but it did tarry by virtue of them messing with the calendars. And that's why this happened this way. So it didn't tarry, but it kind of did, because it's off by a year, right? But it didn't really. And how long do they wait for the bride to come back? A year and a few days? I'm just wondering if that was the tarry right there. Like I showed you before, except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Find this in Matthew 24. You find it again in Mark 13. You will not find this in Luke. And except that the Lord has shortened those days, no flesh should be saved, but for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen from before the foundations of the world, he hath shortened the days. It's kind of stating to me that it's going to be a rapture before the Jubilee begins. With all those verses I just showed, 4 months early, it looks like the rapture is going to come before the Jubilee begins. And he can do this because Satan has messed with the calendar so much, nobody knows where we are. God remembers. Does anybody for a second think that God forgot something? No. But he does this for our benefit by writing it in the Bible. Genesis 8:1. God remembered Noah and all the animals and sent a wind and caused the flood waters to recede. We see it again for Abraham in Genesis 19:29. God remembered Abraham. Remember Abraham? Okay, and rescued his nephew Lot from the destruction of the cities of the plain. So you have that as well. Hannah, 1 Samuel 1:19. God remembered Hannah, and she was able to have a son. Samuel. And then the Israelites in Exodus 2:24. God remembered his covenant with the Israelites, and they were rescued from their slavery in Egypt. It makes the statement that he remembered, but we all know God never forgets. So we have these different verses whereby we could say God's going to remember us here very shortly, and he's going to pull us out of here very shortly. All right. I kind of wanted to go over this. This gets a bit confusing for people. And I presented these verses to my two daughters who are not super biblically inclined. They really don't study the scripture. So I gave them these verses to study, and I said, can you tell me when God remembered Noah? Did he remember Noah at the end of 40 days, or did he remember Noah at the end of 150 days? And they studied and studied and studied, and each one of them came back with a different thing. One said it had to be 40 days because the waters prevailed and lifted up the ark above the earth, and the waters prevailed, were increasingly great upon the earth, and the ark went up from the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits, which is 22.5 feet, I believe, upward did the waters prevail. Continue to say, prevail, 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 prevail. And the flood was 40 days. So two things we can learn from this. One is the flood was 40 days, and the waters stayed up for 150 total days from when the flood began, or 40 days and 110 days more. And then the waters began to recede. The ark, the highest mountain, and remember, at this time, we probably didn't have Mount Everest and all that. The highest mountain was probably Mount Ararat at the time. And so all of that, as the ark was coming down, I think all of the land masses were just, in order for the water to go down, I think a lot of stuff was going on underneath Noah's boat. But 115th cubits upwards, the waters prevailed. So, 15 cubits, which is 22.5 feet. How far into the water do you think the ark was? That size of an ark, as buoyant as it was, how far down into the water did the ark set? And how far did the ark actually have to drop down to reach the top of Mount Ararat, which is 22.5 feet under the water? Not very far. So, at any rate, we determined that God remembered Noah twice. Even though it says here once, he remembered him twice, because God views the entire segment, the entire thing, the whole of it, as one event. And so he remembered him on day 40 and stopped the rain. He remembered him on day 150 and sent a wind. You see what I'm saying? And the waters began to subside when Jesus went down into the grave. And God remembered Noah and every living thing. And you guys can go study this and see what you think, but I believe God remembered them twice. I think he remembered them at day 40 and he remembered them at day 150. I believe that the waters were up at day 40 and stayed up until day 150 at the cross, and that's when they began to recede when Jesus went down into the grave. And then at the end of 3 days, the water receded enough for the ark to set down, which again, 22.5 feet, the buoyancy of the ark. Did it have to sit down by what? 5 feet? How far was that ark down into the water? 17 feet, 15 feet? I don't know. So how far did it have to set down? And God remembered Noah and every living thing. And he made a wind to pass on the earth, and the waters assuaged. You would almost think the waters began to go down at day 40, but then you keep reading. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped. And it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. So God remembered Noah at 40 days and 40 nights, but he also remembered Noah at day 150. The waters began to assuage. And at the end of the 150 days, well, the waters abated and the ark rested on the 7th month and 17th day, which is the day Jesus rises or reverses the curse, which is April the 3rd. April the 3rd is when Jesus rises, 84 hours later after March 30th. And again, that's why I use a static timeline, because this doesn't change. This doesn't move with the moon. And if you try to use the moon, sliver and full, I challenge you to build a timeline. I dare you. I dare you, because I've tried. It's not possible. The moon just won't cooperate. The moon falls 10 days too short. As a matter of fact, 10 days too short over the course of the time from when the flood happened, because when Enoch was here, you could set your watch by the moon. Quarter moon, 1st of the month, 15th of the month, full moon, and you could set your watch by it, because the moon went around the earth 364 days in a year. But there are verses in the Bible that says the earth has not budged. It has not budged. It might have shifted 47 degrees or 23.5 degrees off center, but it didn't budge in its going around the sun. So as far as that is concerned, you can take the moon and realize that we are currently, if you add those 10 days per year since the flood, we are currently 120 years off. The moon is 120 years behind schedule, 358 ahead of schedule, because it goes around at 354 days instead of 364. So it's sped up. It's sped up. I think it would have had to, because our planet was a lot larger by virtue of all the water and then the ice shield that was around our planet. So the 10th month and then the first day, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th